Spotlight. The spotlight today is on Kim Jackson. Kim is the Director of Transportation and Parking Services at Princeton University. She's the former Executive Director of the International Parking Mobility Institute. We're going to talk today with Kim on the reopening of Princeton University with regards to the transportation and parking services and the challenges during this COVID time. Hope you enjoy the conversation. Hi, Kim. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Keith?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for joining me in the Loom Spotlight. I really appreciate you taking time. I know you're very busy trying to get the school and get your department ready for reopening in the next couple days.
Well, thank you for the invite. And yes, it's been a little kind of helter-skelter here at Princeton. I'm not sure if you and people are aware that we had made an announcement that first-year students and juniors were going to be invited back to campus, and that would be our student population in the fall, and then sophomores and seniors would be invited in the spring. However, with the uptick in cases of COVID and the states from which people need to quarantine kept rising, and at the point that I think a decision was made 2 weeks ago, we were at 35 states had a quarantine coming into New Jersey. The president unfortunately made the announcement that we would be all virtual this year. So as opposed to expecting about 3,000 students in the next 2 weeks, we are now expecting anywhere between 160 and maybe 200 students coming back to campus. Those coming back are 50 ROTC Army students.
Okay.
We have seniors who are coming back who need more time to finish their senior theses and get research work done in order for them to be able to graduate. We have about 33 first-year students that need to come to campus to study so that they can do what will be required of them virtually. And we had 80 students currently on campus who have been housed ever since the pandemic outbreak in the spring, because either they're international and they could not go home, or there are some hardships in terms of the home front. And so those 80 students, now with these 33 first-year students, will be remaining on campus for the entire year with us. We do have most of our graduate student population back on campus. They pretty much have been here over the summer. First-year grad students have been arriving. There are some challenges with those who are coming internationally.
Okay.
We work through that as best we can. But in terms of the research that's being done by our graduate students, that's continuing, even though a lot of them are scheduled now into the late night, early morning for lab times, et cetera.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you were prepared for 3,000 students. So I guess you've been working for some time to get your operations in place for the returning students and to meet the new guidelines.
Yes, and again, I'm happy I'm transportation and parking for once and not housing and our campus dining, because I think their challenges were much worse than mine. The biggest challenge for us, though, is on the transportation side. Looking at the buses, the governor in mid-July lifted the capacity ban on buses, but we yet have engaged full capacity on the buses. We are still doing rear boarding. We have no standees on the buses, so that's reduced the number of folks who are able to ride. So we have worked on a mobility framework this past year with a transportation consulting team. And so we are really promoting biking and walking on the Princeton campus. And we are lucky that we have a small enough campus that we can do that. The furthest distance from a grad residence to an academic, the furthest academic building is about a mile, maybe a little more. It is walkable, although I will admit it's uphill, so it's a little challenging. But so we are going to be asking the entire university population, students, faculty, and staff, to really look at transit as almost their last resort to get to where they need to go, and try to bike and or walk when they can. to those destinations. Again, we are still shuttling from remote parking lots, but again, with now also the non-resumption of all services, our campus population will be much reduced. So I'm not too concerned about overcrowding on the buses. But again, it's something we need to keep an eye on. In terms of micromobility, our bike share program no longer exists because the company we were with is no longer in business. Our car share is not operating at this time because they can't ensure all the safety protocols that are needed for the vehicles. So we are at a bit of a disadvantage in terms of what we can offer shared programs. So we are thinking about creating what we're calling a bike library, where we will do semester, or since students are only here 90 days, through Thanksgiving, a 90-day bike rental. So you would get a bike, you'd rent that bike, and you keep it for the semester for your personal use. And then we have you return it to us at the end of the semester. We can then clean it, maintain it, do what we need to do, and turn around and do that next term.
Yeah, that would have been very difficult, I guess, with your normal bike share to constantly be keeping the bikes clean and ready for the next student.
Correct. That's a challenge. Like, again, we don't have personnel to do that.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to ask students, faculty, staff, anyone to clean the bikes and make sure that it's done in a way that meets all the safety protocols. And so, although we were disheartened by the fact that we couldn't offer shared services, we totally understand why, because safety, people's safety is number one.
And it sounds like with the shuttle services for handicapped students, you'll have plenty of room based on not having the capacity that you normally would deal with.
So it's another interesting point, Keith, is that a lot of disabled students may not be returning to campus if they're compromised in any way, even though there's virtual teachings.
Okay.
For those students who could. For the one student that I know, in fact, I know is coming back to campus, she is so independent and is so used to being mobile on her own. She does use the buses. She will continue to use them, and whenever possible, although there's masks and the 6 feet distance, she also does like to travel with her fellow students when she can.
Okay. Well, maybe on a positive note, can you tell me a little bit about your campus mobility framework, that project?
Yeah, so it was an amazing project. We had an amazing team who first came in and evaluated what our current transportation system was and all the offerings that we have. And then we did what they call a choices report and study, where we engaged undergraduates, graduate students, faculty, staff. I think we had a committee of 30-some people who did this kind of like a vignette of choices and what would you do if you had to design a transit route, and what are things that would be important to you, and where do you think this transit route should go. So each group was creating their own routes, and I have to admit at the end they all appreciated the work that I do because I had different understanding of how difficult it is to design a traffic route, to try to be very conscious of cost and equity and all the things that we try to balance all the time. So it gave different view into this. We did a video that talked about why we were looking at transit, what changes we were hoping to make. We had students in the video. We showed biking and scooters and every mode you can possibly think of in this video. We had a robust public engagement system where we invited the Princeton community, not just the university, but the Princeton town, to come in and engage with us and look at some of the choices. We were coming up with some of the routes we were thinking of. We did a survey, we collected data. We created 10 principles, which we then developed what our new, our system is called Private Transit, what our new Tiger Transit system will be. The downside is we did all this work, started pre-COVID, and then of course COVID hit. So the question was, what do you do? How do you move forward? We made the decision to try to move forward with some of the new routes we have designed for the campus. And as things change, we can keep evolving into the new routes and services, et cetera. So it's an interesting time. It's sad that we can't, launch everything with a big splash, but I think people will be impressed with the new routes that we've come up with because we were able to increase frequency, which is one of the things that people had asked for. We reduced routes that were underperforming. I know that there'll probably be some staff who are not happy about that, but they still have an ability because they're in what we call off-campus locations to drive and park in a remote lot to get to campus. So I'm interested in seeing how the community embraces these changes.
Now, it sounds like a great program. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And one other note of congratulations. Congratulations on your President's Achievement Award. That's got to be a great recognition for your services. And it sounds like the program that you just talked about is probably a key reason that you received that award.
I don't know if it was. Thank you. So I will admit that it's not often it happens. This does embarrass me because I just do what I do. But it was truly an honor to find out that I was a recipient of the President's Award here at Princeton, which is the highest honor you can get as a staff person. There are 5 to 6 people selected every year. And it was really rewarding for me to read what colleagues said because people were able to submit some of their impressions of the work we had done and how they've interacted with me. So it really was very touching for me. So thank you for that.
Well, knowing you for a few years, I think it's well deserved. So
thank you.
Well, thank you again for joining me on the Spotlight today. What I like to do at the end of these is I call it a Loom lightning round, and I throw a few questions at you so we can find out a little bit about Kim.
Awesome.
Game?
Let's go.
Okay. Uber or Lyft?
I want to say neither right now, but it would be Lyft.
Favorite actor or actress?
Ooh, that's a really tough one. Oh, geez, to pick one is just so difficult. I will go with the first person who popped in my head when you asked the question. So I will say favorite actor because I just saw the movie again recently would be Denzel Washington from Fences.
Okay. Which movie?
Fences.
Okay.
The August Wilson play. So it was, I just 2 nights ago watched it again for the umpteenth time. So.
Great choice. Favorite subject in school?
What's history?
Favorite 80s artist?
Ooh, again. How would you know I'd know an 80s artist? See, this is really sad. No. Oh my God. 80s. I gotta make sure it's the 80s. Oh, I don't know. I'll go with, and it's probably not the 80s, it's probably more the 70s. But again, first thing that popped in my head was Casey and the Sunshine Band. So
I think that's close. That's good.
Good.
If you could learn something new, what would it be?
I would love to learn to knit.
Okay. Favorite movie?
It's called Imitation of Life. It's an old movie that was remade. It was a movie from the 30s, was remade in like the 50s or 60s.
Okay. A bucket list travel spot?
Solid.
Cook from home, takeout, or go out to eat?
Cook from home.
Cook from home. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Kim. I really appreciate your time today and really enjoyed the conversation.
This was awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great day and stay well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.